Hello men, my name's Paul Robson, I'm from Maniphesto, and this is going to be a video about 3 mistakes to avoid when you're talking to feminists. So I've been organizing events here in Scandinavia, Denmark and Sweden mainly, specifically for men and helping men to become a better version of themselves. But that's led to me having lots and lots of conversations with lots of feminists. There's quite a few of them here in Scandinavia, where perhaps the area in the world that has the highest level of gender equality, but there's also a lot of strong feelings still here, as there are in many other parts of the world. So it's been really valuable for me to be able to engage with lots of different people in all kinds of different settings. And here are 3 of the biggest mistakes that I've seen from men, from myself and from men that I've met when they've been talking to feminists. So first of all, before I get started though, I just want to mention that, it's important when we talk about feminists to realize that this is a very broad range of different kind of people. Feminists can be everything from a person who says, I just think men and women should be treated equally, which is something that all of us go in for, to a radical man-hating person who's hurt or whatever it is, right? So don't put people in a box, but when someone says they're a feminist, then you can always get interested. Well, what does that mean to you if it's something that's interesting? So, 3 mistakes to avoid when talking to a feminist. Here is mistake number 1. The first one is, do not think that this is all about logic. Men often have a tendency, in my experience, to be more logical, more rational, want to have clear arguments, and we often enjoy discussing. I know I enjoy discussing and having rational, logical arguments. When we're talking about men and women and gender and society and patriarchy and all of the different things that this comes along with, equality of outcomes, equality of whatever, then yeah, this is deep stuff for a lot of people. A lot of us are walking around, we've been hurt by previous relationships, girlfriends, wives, betrayal, all kinds of stuff that's happened in life. And so it influences and affects us all. So when you're talking to people, don't just try and destroy their arguments with your razor sharp logic, unless you're in a debate stage and that's the idea, then you're welcome to do that, of course. But most of the time, especially we're in our everyday lives and we meet people who say they're feminists, then that can be interesting to engage with those people and try and understand each other better. But it's not about just using your sharp logic to destroy them. Yes. Mistake number 2. This is a bit of a kind of digging down deeper question, but it's really about asking yourself, why am I having this conversation at all? So if the reason you're having the conversation is because you see another person with an opinion that you think, oh, that's bad logic, or that's a wrong opinion about men and women or something like that, they've misunderstood, then I would really say, stay away from that. It's not your job to go around correcting everybody that you meet and finding out where all the mistakes are in their understanding and helping them. So it's really about building a relationship with people first. As I said, this is pretty deep stuff, and most people aren't ready to just receive a new understanding in their everyday life about men and women. It's a very fundamental concepts in our way of orientating ourselves in the world. So if you know, why am I in this conversation and what is it relevant for, then that can help you. And then you can also be more orientated towards, well, maybe you don't have to change the person all the way around just in one short conversation and, kind of get them. But if you're listening, if you're asking the right questions, you're understanding where they're coming from, and then just helping this person, giving them little nudges to see the world in a different way, then that can be a good way of dealing with it. Okay. And then the third topic that I want to bring up, that is probably the most common one that I see most of the time, and that is this discussion that guys often get into with feminists, which is who suffered the most, or who's the worst off, or oh, women have it really bad this way, well, men have it really bad this way, well, women also have it really bad that way, and there's this, this is just a terrible argument to get into. It's something you should always avoid. So if you meet a woman and they're talking about the problems that women are facing, then listen to that, and if there's an opportunity to voice, and you feel it's relevant to say oh, well, yeah, guys are also da, then you can do that, but don't expect that to be received. If it's received, then great, and then you can continue to have that discussion. But if it's not, then there's no reason to get offended by it or anything like that. And at the same time, if you're in a forum where you're talking about like, oh yeah, I just went to this men's work event and we spoke about like, you know, the lack of fathers or whatever it is that you're talking about, and then, you know, there's a feminist who says, well, yeah, that doesn't really matter because women have da 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 da. Then listen to her, and you know, if that feels relevant to engage with, you can engage with it. If you feels like, okay, well, she's not really interested in what I'm saying and I can't really connect with her, then probably it's a better idea just to say, well, thank you, good to hear it, and move on in your life. But you know, a lot of what I've seen is that as men, we have to be really aware of how we are driven by emotional responses in this conversation ourselves as well. And so being able to just bring things down and have these relaxed, normal, everyday conversations and try and understand people better, build relationships, and slowly kind of expand common and shared understanding, find points of you know, similarity with people, talk to them about their children and what they're like, and you know, don't have to like beat them every single little argument, but it's really about building bridges. You know, a long time men and women have had problems with each other. In some cases, I think it's getting a lot worse in our society at the moment. And if we're going to turn the tide, if we're going to start building those bridges again, then it's really about having understanding and taking responsibility for our communication. If we can't expect other people to understand what we're saying, and if we carry on communicating the exact same way, you know, I know a lot of guys who have good hearts and they see things that they see as injustice in society, and I think probably that's true. A lot of what they see is probably not working well, but then they quite angry and upset about it, and they go out and they tell the story to lots of people, and the vast majority of people just get totally turned off by that. Even if their arguments are spot on, their logic is razor sharp, and nobody really wants to hear about that. So I really strongly recommend to think about why you're engaging in the conversation, to try and build the bridges, and to not think that it's all just about logic, and then last of all, to never go into that discussion about who's worse off, men or women. So hope you enjoyed it. That was 3 mistakes to avoid when talking to feminists. Thanks.